Hold on, folks. Hold on. Here we go. There we are. We are live, but only just by the skin of our teeth today because we've had Windows updates. We have had Streamlabs updates. Oh, boys, oh, boys, oh, boys. But it is Freaky Friday. That's right. Time to get your freak on. How you doing, guys?
Doing absolutely fantastic, Mr. Baker. The gremlins and goblins continue on the technological front, don't they?
Yes, very much so. I've not checked into what Mercury's up to. I daren't look, Scott. I daren't look. But you seen it was that bad before we started. Scott gave me perfect silence, which I was so appreciative of because we were that close to everything just coming to a grinding halt. It was all going wrong at once, Scoy.
Yeah, I knew you were deep in trying to resolve issues, and sometimes the best thing to do when somebody's doing that is to just kind of stay silent and let them do their thing. And I know how that is. So
you could hear the sparks, the short circuiting in my neural pathways. It was going wrong, dude.
It sound like you know, like when you hear a mad scientist working and you hear like the buzzing of electricity and like the clanking sounds of that's what was going on in Kev's little area there before the show. But hey, he got it going. He got the flux capacitor fired up. And we're here for another week, man.
We hope, Scott. We hope. Let's see. Now, hopefully you'll be able to see me now. Maybe. There you go. But yes, it's not just me.
Yes.
It's not just Scotty. It is Nacy. He is back with us as well. Nacy, how you doing, man?
Bonjour, Annie, Nacy, Indigenicas, Anishinaabuam, Minowa, Kevin Richard Shores, Indigenicas, Jaganashimu, Makwanan, Dune Dame, Anishinaabe in the house. How you doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing very well, man. Doing very well. Still trying to recover from Monday. Still trying to figure out who I am, where I am, what I am. You know, it's not very often, Scott, you get left as a total passenger on your own show. But I did.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, it happens sometimes. It happens.
Usually only when you book Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Usually.
I'm going to take that as a compliment that you called me
definitely.
Alan Miller Jr. there.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the only two people who could manage to do that are Nacy and Doc Miller. I think they're the only two that could take you on a ride that wild,
Scott,
man.
It was hard work, my friend. Hard work. I still don't know. Still no idea what we were talking about. Now, with all that banging and clanging and cracking in the background.
I got a bunch of chords around me that I'm trying to rearrange my station.
No less than you deserve after Monday. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm going to head on over to the Wookiee Cave right now over at truthfrequencyradio.com. Well, it's tfrlive.com actually /chat. And if you head on over there, I'll be over to hand out dopamine, a shout out, and make you feel all nice and good before we set sail into the weird and wonderful world of water bears, a demonologist that has been plagued and haunted by imps and little people.
Dang it, Kev. You beat me to it. Well, I'm going to have to scratch that one off my tab.
Right, yes, I enjoyed that story today. It's a very good story. And we have got lots of woo lining up for all of you. But before we get there, I'll give Scott a chance to go and source something else now. Let me head to the Wookiee Cave. There is me in there and Sophia. We've also got Bam, Cold Brews, Waffle Buddy, all one. The Gentle Wolverine. Ooh. It's almost like a dog man in the making. We've got Daryl Bowles, and can I give a big shout out to Smithy? Mick Greenbeard. Big shout out to Smithy. We've got Wandering Chatter and a magnificent specimen, no less. Yes, indeed. So we've also got Human Monkey Chimeras, Ghost Stories, and wherever else we end up today. But Nacy, we have to come to you because you're the man that said to us, you said to me on Facebook, water bears. Now, you thought I wouldn't know what you were on about. And I didn't. But I do know what we're on about now. So, Nacy, what's going on? Water bears? Yes, Scott.
Yes,
there he is.
water bears. The most incredible animal considered in the world. Some people think it's immortal, but the water bears, also called the tarpons. I'm trying to think of the other one. It's moss pig.
Is it like
Tardigrades.
Tardigrades, yes.
Yeah, and there's another one they call them. Is it moss frogs as well? You've got the water bears. You've got the. Is it moss frogs? I was watching
moss pig.
Moss pig. That's it. The little moss pigs. There you go. See.
And it's found all over the world. All over the world, and in incredible conditions, and the conditions that it can survive in are beyond what we're able to survive through. So I actually, as much as part of me doesn't care to admit it, that I enjoy South Park because it laughs at our silliness directly in your face. It's not politically correct, of course, but some of the stories and some of the metaphors they use are spot on. And there's as someone who's done stand-up comedy, we have to laugh at ourselves. And South Park will definitely give you the opportunity to laugh at yourself. But they had a special about the water pigs, the moss pigs, the water bears. And in it, and this is a total spoiler because it was 2 years ago that happened, in it they talk about the kids' science project, and they're playing with tartar bears, and they're tartar bears, water bears, moss pigs. So, and so then they're manipulating them, and then all of a sudden these scientists come up and they're all excited about these breakthroughs because not only are they communicating with the water bears, but they're showing way intelligent signs of activity. And then all of a sudden, when I'm like, what are these creatures? And I started diving into it. And when you look into the possibilities of chimeras, where genetically modified organisms, you would possibly come to the same conclusion that if they could implant a human being with any type of this whole creature's DNA, that the possibilities would be endless, and we'd practically be immortal.
The tardigrade is an absolutely fascinating creature, and the extremes in which this thing can live is amazing. This thing can live in the vacuum of space for up to, I believe, 2 weeks. Like, not even contained within any kind of, just in space. It can survive for 2 weeks in a total vacuum. I mean, that's incredible. And so, this is what would be considered, one of these extremo sort of organisms that live on the planet. And this would be probably one of the creatures that would survive a cataclysmic sort of extinction level event. This would probably be the thing that ends up rebooting life on Earth once again. and then whatever evolves from that thing, you can trace it back. We all came from a tardigrade. We all came from a water pig or something. I don't know, man, but it's very crazy. And weren't a bunch of these things loaded on that Israeli probe that was supposed to land on the moon and it crashed? I think it was loaded with a bunch of tardigrades.
Yeah.
Mixed.
I had that story pulled up here. October 2019. There are the most weird, bizarre, strangest looking of things, right? It says,
do you think? Well, before you go on, do you think? Here's the thing. You just throw it out there. Do you think the tardigrades themselves originated from Earth, or do you think they came from elsewhere?
Who knows, dude? Who knows?
I mean, they're so odd and they're so extreme in their, like, they would probably be a really good candidate for something that could have been embedded inside of a meteorite or something like that and just survived in stasis for a while. And then
I think we'll probably find that these things just emerge anywhere where there are water and amino acids and the right chemical conditions to go. That's my theory on them anyway. But hey, it's a tardigrade. What the hell would I know about a tardigrade? What I know about a tardigrade, you could write on a tardigrade and they're less than a millimeter in size. So it's insignificant what I know. Okay, it says...
You find out... Oh, sorry.
On you go.
Well, you find out that through some of the scientific studies back in 1948, they were manipulating tardigrades to where they go through a death where they become totally abandoned of water. And then they basically dry up, and then you can rehydrogenate these things and they come back to life. And there's references to a 1948 study where they had these tardigrades were frozen for 50, 60 years, and they're bringing these things back to life. So to crack the DNA, and that's where I really suggest anybody doing any kind of extracurricular activities, looking up tardigrades. Look up tardigrades, DNA, and protein.
Back to this here, it says the moon might now be home to thousands of them, like Scotty was saying. Tardigrades, often called water bears, are creatures under a millimeter long that can survive being heated to 150 degrees Celsius and frozen to almost absolute zero. And they were traveling on the Israeli spacecraft that crash landed on the moon. Crash landed? No, crashed. And the co-founder of the organization that put them there thinks that they're almost definitely still alive. Now, this is also the thing that when you talk about the recent Star Trek, the water bear, that they're part of this mycelial network, if I remember correctly, and they play a significant role in us being able to jump around the galaxy. Give me 2 seconds, I'll dig that up. I'll dig it up. There we are. In fact.
So, if these tardigrades managed to survive on the moon, then did we sort of unintentionally engage in panspermia? I mean, if they managed to reproduce and sustain themselves there for some amount of time.
Well, if we talk about evolution, and if we supposedly came from the primordial ooze, and we eventually elevated to the tardigrade, because if you look at this creature, it's bizarre. It has it's segmented like a caterpillar. It has kind of like a huge stomach to it. It copulates and it feeds, and it has crazy feet and legs, and some of them have paddles for feet, and some of them have like spikes. And I guess if I would say that, would it not be, or I would ask, would it not be the same as parallel universes to think of the universe of a tardigrade comparatively to our universe right now? Because all of the creatures and everything of the world, we all live within the parameters of this world, and more specifically to the local, domicile where you are. So these tardigrades have evolved for all of these different conditions. And when you look at how long they're finding evidence of these in the past, I think they're talking, if I recall, it was like 100 million years they're estimating that these things were around.
Yeah, I was about to say, these are probably one of the longest surviving organisms on our planet. I would think, just because of the extreme conditions that they can live. They like I said, they can survive meteor strikes, extinction level events, things that would wipe out most of all life on the planet, but these things are extremely resilient. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that that they find evidence of these things going back that far. It's crazy, man.
They're here, they're there, they're everywhere. But here's this thing here. Look, dismissal of Tardigrade's copyright lawsuit against CBS and Star Trek. And this all came about because, like I say, they were using this really cool scientific idea where they were jumping about, and it involved water bears and a mycelial network. It turns out somebody else had already come up with that. It says, the appeal filed by game developer Anas Abdin in a copyright infringement lawsuit against CBS has been dismissed by a judge in the US Courts of Appeal, Second Circuit, upholding an earlier decision to dismiss the case. Abdin sued both CBS and Netflix in 2018, alleging that the use of the spacefaring tardigrade on the first season of Star Trek Discovery violated copyright laws by taking concepts of a game that Abdin had been designing since 2014 called tardigrades, or water bears. And it goes on to say they are microscopic creatures capable of surviving in nearly any environment imaginable, including space, and are the focal point of Abdin's game. So a report from Gizmodo shed light on the formal opinion to dismiss the case written by Judge Chin, who presided over the appeal. And after citing scientific research on the tardigrade, Judge Chin wrote that Abdin's space-traveling tardigrade is an unprotectable idea because it is a generalized expression of scientific fact, namely the known ability of a tardigrade to survive in space. You want to say that by permitting Abdin to exclusively own the idea of a space-traveling tardigrade, this court would improperly withdraw that idea from the public domain and stifle creativity naturally flowing from the scientific fact that tardigrades can survive in the vacuum of space. So you add them to some of Stamets' mycelial network, and away you go. You're tripping the warp speed and jumping the galactic fandango. There you go.
Sounds like this game company wanted the monopoly on the whole tardigrade.
They went full tardigrade.
They went full tardigrade, yes.
It sounds like the level of stupidity, doesn't it? A tardigrade. It's like a level, like a spectrum. Isn't it? Yeah. Tardigrades. Yes. Who thought of that name? And water bears. They don't look like bears.
They don't look like pigs.
No. I don't know. Is this like, are they the most ancient? Are they the ancient ones? Did they create all of this? Is that are they our gods? Are they hiding as water bears and And moss pigs, Nacy.
What if they all got together and said, "Hey, we're done with this human race. They've messed up enough," and then they figured out a way to get into our city water system.
Well,
and we're
unless they
drinking them all out.
really need to start growing a bit first, or weaponize themselves. I'm more worried, definitely more worried about these monkey human chimeras that they've been announcing in the news today. I don't know, maybe bit size. I seen one playing Pong last week as well, and now we're splicing them with humans this week. Huh? By this time next week, we'll be getting invaded by gabbins.
Well, we've talked about this before, about the humanoid research animals, to where they will genetically manipulate lab animals, and so they have more characteristics to humans. And so when they do their testing, they get better results, more data to what the human can go through. And that's back to the water bearers, not like a bear, growl. I'm the bear here. But yeah, I would throw it out there. My speculation is there is probably somewhere out there a 92% humanoid with a 8% tardigrade.
No, you don't honestly think that, do you?
Yes. Oh,
I don't know. I might go with naysay on it. I maybe in some black facility somewhere.
Where's the advantage of us splicing with a tardigrade?
Well, look at the extreme conditions in which the tardigrade can survive. If you were to,
especially space.
If you were to give somebody the ability to be frozen and then reanimated, right? If you were to give somebody the ability to be able to survive,
I don't reckon jacking in with enough of these guys is gonna keep us living to 800 years old.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm more worried about the monkey. Definite.
Frankenfoods, what they've done to tomatoes. Allegedly, 99% of all tomatoes out there that are not labeled organic or not labeled non-GMO have either cockroach DNA or fish DNA, because they wanted to figure out a way to manipulate the tomato so it would last longer from the moment it's picked to the moment that you pick it from the store, because we're all judgmental, right? We got to pick that perfect tomato. And so then we have that tomato, we bring it home, and it's gonna maintain some resemblance of fresh, even though when you cut up these manipulated tomatoes, you'll see the insides are a lot mushier. So the manipulation's there. Why do they do it? The advancement of science, and because we can. And if there are, as we've talked many times in the past, cataclysmic events that cause the parameters of this existence, Aki, Earth, to be as it is so-called average. If there's some major change that's going to happen, how do we keep the continuity of the human species alive? Especially if we're going to shoot them out into outer space, because there's going to be a challenge that's going to happen to where we're not going to survive. Maybe not. Speculation Island off the port bow.
And these tardigrades also remind me of another extreme organism, and we'll get into that probably when we get back.
People were on about cryogenics. They were asking, is that a thing? Well, kind of. Kind of.
But if you were, it's not it's not there yet. But
they're
maybe
there.
Some of that tardigrade DNA. That tardigrade DNA might be the key to that. Who knows? But it also reminds me of the Immortal jellyfish. Have you ever seen that, Kev?
No, can't say I have, man.
Oh my goodness. You're gonna have to look that up.
There we go. We're on the first break, and then we'll get into some immortal jellyfish. It's bad enough being mortal, let alone hanging around here forever. We'll be back after these short messages. Don't go anywhere. There we go, boys. There we go. Yes, one segment down already.
Gonna go use the little boys' room. I'll be right back.
No problemo.
Alrighty.
Yep. They're creepy little horrible things. I'll give them that much. Weird looking thing. Like I say, I'm just glad it's like a millimeter or less than a millimeter big, because seeing one of them trundling down the road, imagine that was the size of an elephant. That'd be absolutely terrifying. Terrifying, but I want to thank all of you here today on YouTube. Thank you for joining in to the simulcast. And we'll be going back to the network, and Scotty will pick it up on his jellyfish when we go back. And talking of jellyfish, if you haven't seen the documentary on Netflix right now, Seaspiracy, that's worth watching, if for no other reason than to find out that herring communicate in the strangest of ways. They fart to one another, Scott. Yes.
Wow.
That's how they communicate, man. They drop air biscuits. Yep.
Hey, you know,
Who knew? The guy that studied them, I would imagine.
evolution does some weird things, man.
Yeah.
You know, and if
again, I'll take the herring in a fight against. It might be a scary looking bugger, this thing, but again, I think we should just wipe out. We should just set some other species of animal on it. Pretty much anything could wipe out. Is there anything we're actually relying on these things for in the food chain? No? Good. Eradicate them.
well, look, if something eats it, all it's going to do is survive going through its digestive tract, and it's going to come out the other end and still be there. And be like, hey,
Nothing
that
good.
was a-
Nothing good comes of letting this thing simmer away and evolve naturally. Nothing good comes. Today it might be a millimeter.
the tardigrade mothership
Couple
will
of
arrive.
generations from now. I've seen how this rolls. I've seen it. I've taken a look. Not good. Chronovisor says no. No.
It'll be a giant tardigrade in the sky that's like the size of a skyscraper, and he's coming back to like pick up all his children.
Telling you, dude. I'm telling you, man. That no good can come of these things. They are not clever. They're creepy little. You can't call them feet, and they're not hands. They're weird looking things.
Mm.
Think Europa, that moon up there, that'll be all full of these things. Absolutely teeming. Like I say, I think anywhere you find water, these things, these little buggers, literally buggers, are going to be kicking around. It
Maybe
just
they're
makes you
from
feel
Europa.
actually looking at it.
I'm still on the thing of they might not have originated from this planet.
Who knows?
Maybe they came from Europa. Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to wonder maybe how many organisms on this planet didn't actually originate here. You know, it'd be interesting to figure that out. And I mean, if you think about it, maybe we're not from here, right? The whole Mars thing, maybe we originated from Mars or somewhere else.
Venus.
Mm. Oh, you're gonna go with the Venus route, huh?
Oh, I've got anything, anywhere. Alpha Centauri, Betelgeuse. Oh, anything's an option.
They're Anunnaki fleas.
But they are, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, it's giving it long enough, I think. Or not. Yeah, I'll give it another second yet, then we'll go back. I'm telling you.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
It's not, it's a tardigrade. Do they come in males and females? Probably, right? It's a ma'am. Okay. We'll take your word for it.
How dare you?
Activist tardigrade. There we go.
Mm.
Part 2 already of Freaky Friday. It's flying by. It's going to be one of these shows. We're talking tardigrades. Yes, creepy kind of little beasties that just looking at it, makes your skin crawl. Eesh. And unbelievable. And of course, Scotty comes up with the even more terrifying thought that they don't come from here. Maybe they came here first, or maybe they put us here. You know, Scotty, they could be everywhere. Like I was saying, Europa. If I had Yuri Milner's Russian billions and I was launching CubeSats anywhere, I'd be wanting to get under the ice in Europa and have a look and see what kind of life's in there. And I'd put money on it. I don't have much, but I'd put money on these things being kicking about in that kind of pristine environment that's been sealed off, you know?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure something very similar to the tardigrade lives under the ice of Europa, you know, and yeah, I mean that's a water planet or a water moon, I guess you could say, and you know, it's just covered in ice, and then it's just nothing but ocean under there. So I think there's all kinds of stuff under the ice of Europa. And yeah, it would be interesting to send something there to actually see what's going on.
So what was this jellyfish or whatever it is you were talking about? What's the name of it? What's the name of it, man?
Well, it's called the Immortal jellyfish, but its like scientific name is something weird. It's like Turritopsis dorni, something like that. But it says, you know, Turritopsis dorni, also known as the immortal jellyfish, is a species of small, biologically immortal jellyfish found worldwide in temperate or tropic waters. It is one of the few known cases of animals capable of reverting completely to a sexually immature colonial stage after having reached sexual maturity as a solitary individual. So it basically recycles its own life. Isn't that crazy?
Jules donated $7.77 through Super Chat. Listening, lurking, and loving. Happy Freaky Friday, all you beautiful people.
Oh, thank you, Jules.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll replay that on the break because we've got a new dancing emoji. You'll see me making an absolute tardigrade of myself. Yes, indeed. So I've not heard of this one before. I do like my sea creatures. I'm yet to meet one that even comes close to the octopus. I'm liking the look of this thing, Scotty.
Yeah, this is really fascinating. Whenever I first heard about this, and I was like, whoa. So it says, like most other hydrozoans, T. dorni began their life as a tiny, free-swimming larvae known as a planulae. As a planulae settles down, it gives rise to a colony of polyps that are attached to the sea floor. All the polyps and jellyfish arising from a single planula are genetically identical clones. The polyps form into an extensively branched form, which is not commonly seen in most jellyfish. Jellyfish, also known as medusae, then bud off these polyps and continue their life in a free swimming form, eventually becoming sexually mature. When they sexually mature, they have been known to prey on other jellyfish species at a rapid pace. If the T. dorni jellyfish is exposed to environmental stress, physical assault, or is sick or old, it can revert to the polyp stage, forming a new polyp colony. It does this through the cell development process of transdifferentiation, which alters the differentiated states of the cells and transforms them into new types of cells. Theoretically, this process can go on indefinitely, effectively rendering the jellyfish biologically immortal. Although in practice, individuals can still die in nature, most Turritopsis dohrnii are likely to succumb to predation or disease in the Medusa stage without reverting to the polyp form. The capability of biologically immortal with no maximum lifespan makes T. dohrnii an important target of basic biological, aging, and pharmaceutical research. The immortal jellyfish was formerly classified as Nutricula, something like that. But anyways, this thing has the ability to essentially clone itself for life and return to a adolescent or whatever, a young form, and just essentially repeat the process if it doesn't succumb to being devoured by predators or something else in the environment taking it out. But once it reaches a certain age, I guess it just repeats the cycle all over again, and so it's biologically immortal.
That's like having the same brush for 50 years. It's only had like 10 new handles and 6 new heads. Isn't it? Because it's kind of like it's hacked, like immortality.
What is that?
It kind of just like refreshes and clones and kind of just starts again. I like that. And you see, this is why I wasn't wanting to go all in on the tardigrade aging serum that Scotty was putting together. I was thinking there must be better things out there. I'm thinking we're finding one here, Scott. This is definitely one. They're harnessing this one, right?
Yeah, and I can get a little more into like how this, because it has a little section here on the biological immortality of it. But it says, most jellyfish have a relatively fixed lifespan, which varies by species from hours to many months. And it says the Medusa of Turritopsis dohrnii is the only form known to have developed the ability to return to the polyp state by a specific transformation process that requires the presence of certain cell types, tissue from both the jellyfish bell surface and the circulatory canal system. Interesting. It says experiments have revealed that all stages of the Medusae, from newly released to fully mature individuals, can transform back into polyps under the conditions of starvation. Interesting. Sudden temperature change, reduction of salinity, and artificial damage of the bell with forceps or scissors. The transforming Medusa is characterized first by deterioration of the bell, mesoglia, and tentacles. All mature Medusa, with 12 tentacles at most, then turn into a cyst-like stage and then transformed into stolons and polyps. However, about 20 to 40% of mature Medusa went into the stolons and polyp stages without passing the cyst-like stage. Polyps were formed after 2 days since stolons had developed and fed on food. Polyps further multiply by growing additional stolons, branches, and then polyps to form colonial hydroids. In the experiment, they would eventually transform into stolons and polyps and begin their lives once again, even without environmental changes or injury. So it says, this ability to reverse the biotic cycle, you're essentially reversing it, is unique in the animal kingdom. It allows the jellyfish to bypass death, rendering Turritopsis dohrnii potentially biologically immortal. The process has not been observed in their natural habitat, in part because the process is quite rapid, and because field observation at the right moment is really unlikely. It's hard to do. Regardless, most individual Medusae are likely to fall victim to the general hazards of life as mesoplankton, including being eaten by predators or succumbing to disease. The species cell development method of transdifferentiation has inspired scientists to find a way to make stem cells using this process for renewing damaged or dead tissue in humans. So yeah, they're definitely looking at this thing and seeing what kind of, looking at the genetics, and I'm sure figuring out if they can utilize this jellyfish as a way of regenerating, maybe even reversing aging, so I just thought I would bring that up because while we're talking about these extreme creatures and the potential of them being utilized in genetic manipulation and splicing and things like that, I think the immortal jellyfish is definitely a high candidate on that list of animals that they're interested in.
Well, you can take your tardigrades, you can keep your immortal jellyfish, and I'm going to put them up against my candidate for, oh boy, things we shouldn't be doing, things we really shouldn't be doing. Take a look at this, folks, because we are splicing monkeys and humans together. And it says it raises serious moral questions, you see. This is the ace chimera I held up my sleeve. While I was looking at these tardigrades and the immortal jellyfish came, I thought, nah, I'm still more worried about Monkey Man. Monkey Man is a thing, ladies and gentlemen. The news that scientists have managed to create a hybrid embryo that is part human and part monkey has raised significant ethical and philosophical concerns that go right to the heart of what it means to be human. And if they're telling us about this one, folks, how far down the road are they? Although none of the embryos was alive for more than 19 days. Oh, well, that's okay then. That makes me feel really comfortable. Yeah. The achievement represents the significant scientific advance, with experts predicting that it shouldn't be too long before such a chimera makes it beyond the embryonic stage and ends up playing Pong along with Elon Musk's Neuralink one. It says Anna Smajdor of the University of Oslo perhaps summed up the extraordinary state of affairs best, as this breakthrough reinforces an increasingly inescapable fact. Biological categories are not fixed. Oh no, they are fluid. Oh boy, oh boy. So not only can you identify as a species in your mind, but they're now going to look for ways to fluidly take you to be that species.
DJ Bison donated £5 through Super Chat. Big Woo in Gloucestershire, sheep carcasses found stripped to bone. Big black boomer has been sighted again, or could it be aliens? Where's Everard gone?
Oh,
who knows? Who knows? We'll check that out as we go on. Thank you very much, DJ.
So with the language that they just used right there, see now, Kev, if you think it's wrong to be cross-splicing species, then you're a bigot.
Yep.
Right? Because, hey,
that they need to be very careful, though. They need to be very careful, this woke mob, because there's pitfalls in every woketopia, and they're very big on shouting about how I didn't consent to be born, or I didn't consent to do this. Who asked the monkeys consent if it was species fluid? Eh? Where's that pro forma? Show me where it answered that question. You see what I'm saying? Scott?
Kev, one thing that I was just pondering about Scotty and the sea creatures that are there, it made me think of the mud skipper, because we're talking about all these manipulated animals. And in the United Kingdom, they were manipulating mud skippers, cloning them specifically before, I think it was either the late 40s or the early 50s. They were already cloning the mud skipper. Now, if there's one thing that people should know about the mud skipper, it was a creature that could breathe underwater and in the air. So imagine some of these creatures that we're talking about this Medusa, all of a sudden getting spliced with one of those things and had the ability to come out of the water and just kind of hover around.
It's like weird
Cthulhu.
science, isn't it? It's weird science gone wrong now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit more of this then. Says
Some
here,
monkeys?
some more monkey business. Yes, it says many of the frameworks we rely on to govern our behavior are based on false assumptions. Oh, good. For example, that there is a biological answer to the question of what is being human. Yet it's like the number of chromosomes and the DNA that we've got. But hey, it's fluid, right? The scientists behind this research state that these chimeric embryos offer new opportunities because we are unable to conduct certain types of experiments in humans. But whether these embryos are human or not is open to question. Dr. Smajdor added, no doubt they can be whatever they want to be because it's a very fluid world that we live in now, right?
So, where did this supposedly take place? Where did they cross them, or where these embryos get created?
Let's see.
I don't know if it would have been.
Oh, it was over here, dude. It was definitely over here.
Was it?
You know, it's funny that you bring that term up, embryo, there, because
California. Yep.
Oh, interesting.
When I was in middle school, I remember reading the book Embryo, and the preference or the storyline was a reporter got word about basically a modern day Dr. Monroe doing the things someone did, and manipulated something. So this topic has always fascinated me, especially when you research, throughout like Greek or Roman or Egyptian and Mesopotamian. They talk about these individuals that had many different attributes to animals. My ancestors, we talk about these different type of humanoids, or even like the Quetzalcoatl, the winged serpent. Yep. So is it because we've been able to manipulate since the creation of man in one way or another?
Or is it that every time a civilization has reached a pinnacle of technology, right, in that process they reach a level to where they're able to achieve genetic manipulation, and maybe we're just in this cycle where our civilization is reaching that point to where we're starting to engage in these chimera cross-splicing things. And if it becomes more and more accepted, as you see, they're trying to push that in that article, right? Where they want to normalize this. So if that's the case, and if that does happen, then we eventually are going to reach a point to where we're going to have these chimera-like genetically spliced entities walking around.
I would imagine that we wouldn't even be where we are in medicine today, without them splicing and dicing and already doing things like this.
It's there has been a lot of good that has come out of it, but there's a lot of bad that can come out of it. It's it's another one of these double-edged sword things, right? But if they keep pushing for this kind of stuff, Kev, the monkey human hybrid thing, and saying, it's just you need to be more open-minded, and this is and I don't know. Like I said, I think eventually, if we keep going down this road, we're gonna have, people walking around with like,
Dude, if
Get
people want to go and
cosmetic
slice
surgery.
themselves with a spider so they're wandering about
Well, what about
on 8 legs
what
like
ab-
something out of Half-Life 2, I'm all for that. I'm all for it. Can you think of some of the combinations we might end up with?
oh
It's
my
well,
god,
like
there's already people out
tantalizing.
there. There's already people out there that are genetically, not only, not genetically, sorry, that are physically manipulating, through tattoos and through body modification to where they look more like creature than they,
I've
their
had to-
body
I say,
morphs.
hey, as long as it's not somebody making you do it, and these people are all like consensual adults and they're like doing it to themselves and they're wanting it done. Hey, splice yourself a monkey, go for it.
Absolutely.
but that's what I'm saying. If we do eventually reach that point, Kev, aren't we essentially going to be living in a world where it's going to be like what Egyptians represented on their walls, where people are walking around with like a dog head or some fish gills or
Scotty,
whatever?
here's the question. Sorry. Here's the question. If they came up to you and they said, "Hey, Scotty, we can get you walking again, but we're going to genetically manipulate your lower extremities to be like hind legs of a canine dog, but you'll be faster and be able to move around freely."
Dogman, go on, Scott, go full Dogman.
But you are the only genetic match that this operation could ever happen to.
Oh, I don't know.
I'd be disappointed if you didn't take up the opportunity to be Dogman.
I don't know. It would be tough.
Come on, Scotty, man. That would take us to that would like put us up there. We would be elevated to like Joe Rogan level, man.
But you know what?
The two Kevs and the dog, man.
I would do it. You know why? Because once I got it done, the first thing I'm going to do is wait till it's dark, and I'm going to go out in the woods, and I'm going to wait for some people that are hiking through there, and I'm just going to run across right in front of them, buddy.
Just remember, right? See how like these hunters try and shoot the dog man, and it like kind of it's away. You're going to be a physical dog man, dude. You're going to have to like, whoa, if that bullet hits you, you ain't like sparking into an reverse.
That's why you wear body, man. You wear body.
I would take the Geordie. Sorry. I would take the Geordie.
You wear body armor, and I'm going to buy one of those Halloween wolf heads because, you can't have the bottom without the top, right? So.
My mother says as long as it's goat's legs with hoofs.
Oh. And you learn to play the fiddle.
Oh, indeed. So look, just quickly back to this, because it says here an unprecedented series of experiments. Unprecedented. My monkey, man. They're lying. Researchers from the Salk Institute of California injected human stem cells into an early-stage macaque monkey embryos. Now, this resulted in a number of chimeric embryos that survived for a scientifically significant period of time of 19 days. Oh, 19 days before they were destroyed. It says, despite the significant ethical concerns, they say that the chimera embryos can lead to a much better understanding of early human development, biology, and disease. And chimeras are organisms whose cells come from two or more different organisms. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I reckon I'd have to take on some wings. I want some wings. I want to fly like a bird, dude.
The chupacabra is supposedly a chimera of some sort. At least if you're to look at the supposed more rational explanation for the chupacabra, and that they believe that it's a chimera, a cross species between the Mexican gray wolf, which was once thought to be extinct, but it's not.
And a macaque.
A coyote and a wild dog.
Damn.
It's like a three-way.
If we could throw some macaque in there, that would be a terrifying concoction.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, they think that the chupacabra is a chimera of 3 different canine species, essentially.
If we could just make a human-sized tardigrade, I think that alone, a division of tardigrades just walking down the road behind you, Scott. Terrifying.
No.
Would a angel be a chimera if it has angel wings?
Well,
So
that's
fly
the
back
question.
here after the break, you angels.
That is the question. We'll be right back. There we go, boys. Now, he's wanting to talk, because I'm going to make coffee, or do you want me to put tunes on?
I'm gonna go
I'll put tunes on.
Okay, 2 secs then. I'll do that, but guys, I'll do that. Now, folks, I'm going to go quickly pour my coffee, and then I will come back and we'll play the super chat.
Yeah. Freaky Friday. With the Rogue Crow.
Okay, here we go. And we had Jules. We play this.
Jules donated $7.77 through Super Chat. Listening, lurking and loving. Happy Freaky Friday all you beautiful people.
Thank you very much, Jules. And then we had DJ.
DJ Bison donated £5 through Super Chat. Big Woo in Gloucestershire, sheep carcasses found stripped to bone. Big black boomer has been sighted again, or could it be aliens? Where's Everard gone?
If there's a big puma been sighted, I'm leaning towards the puma. But we'll check that out before we leave today for sure. We'll almost be going back to the network here, folks. Bear with us.
Sounds like some more big cat activity.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
UK gets a lot of that kind of big cat reports, I must admit. Okay, let me see. Nearly there. Yeah, nice little background today. Looking good, I know. We've even got like a little doorway. A doorway to nowhere. You like that?
It's the little portal, the
Yeah,
magical
you like
portal
it? You like it?
across the forest. Yeah.
Here we go, dude. Here we go. There we go, ladies and gents. We're back for hour number 2 on today's Freaky Friday. Can't think of a better way to round off the week with Freaky Friday, and then followed by.
Messenger donated $5 through Super Chat for the dog man.
Scotty Lopez is today's dog man. He is after that conversation. You're definitely the dog man. Yep. So after we finish here today, also you get Brent Thomas and Paranormal Portal. And that comes up right after Freaky Friday, right here on TFRlive.com. So then, monkey chimeras, tardigrades.
Could this monkey interrupt for a moment, Kev?
On you go, man.
Can I placate to my ego? So tonight, after Paranormal Portal, I will be joining Paisley with Between the Spaces at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time till 1 a.m. And we're going to talk about appropriations and Anishinaabe rituals and ceremonies. So if you can't go to bed or you need a nice, smooth voice to tuck you in tonight, just stay up late. Okay, does that work? Thank you.
Well, it was starting to get on the borderline of really creepy there. I was about to jump in. It was getting a little it went from kind of cool to creepy really quickly. But that sounds like a good show. That sounds like it's going to be fun, they say. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So where now, boys? Where now on our magical mystery tour? I've got some stuff here we can get into, but this is like full woo when we come to me. Like full woo.
Okay, so we start.
I've got full woo as well. So I don't know wherever you want to go, Kev.
Say wherever you want to go, man.
Okay, so we brought it up a little bit earlier. When the moon is in the 7th hour, and the water bearers. Another metaphor of the water bearers is Aquarius. And they talk about the shift, this moment in the cycle of the someone or another, maybe me. So are we there, gentlemen? Is this the age of Aquarius?
Well,
because
we did say these things were like 1 million years old or 100 million years old, right? So these aren't something we've just discovered, are they? I mean, are these the water bearers that we've been waiting for? I can't go there. I just can't. Is this what the Bible was talking about? Was the Bible saying you will know him when he turns up looking like a tardigrade? No, no.
But it's one thing. It's one thing to find another entity on this, what we call a key. It's one thing to find another entity and acknowledge its existence, but we are manipulating these creatures that have every right to be here just as we do. And what are we doing to it? What if something beyond our comprehension, like us to the tardigrade, to the water bear, they have no clue of what we are. And yet we're scooping them out of all these different conditions and putting them under the labs and freezing them.
I don't think there's and
manipulating
I might be
them.
wrong here, but I don't think there's like a war on tardigrades. I don't think we're torturing them in labs. Not just yet.
Right, but I'm just stating what is occurring. But imagine something so advanced from us, which would equal the distance between us and the water bear, and it came to this planet.
I get what you mean. Like if a species showed up and we were like tardigrades to them, so like these insignificant little creatures or whatever. And I believe that is also, one of the sort of theories about why we haven't came into contact with an alien species, right? What is the theory, Kev? Isn't it like the anthill theory or something like that, to where it's like to them we're just like an anthill when you're walking through just walking through your yard or something. You don't even pay attention to the anthill, and the ants, outside the anthill have no comprehension of what you even are or anything like that. It's kind of like that. Or when we observe ants or something like that, they have no idea that they're really even being observed. So yeah, I get what Naysay's talking about. So from that perspective. And yeah, I mean, how mind blowing would it be, like, if you were a tardigrade and you were sitting there and like just this big thing come and scooped you up and launched you into space?
Not good. Yeah, it's like it's like Geordie Rose said. It's like Elon Musk has said. It's like anyone said about AI. We'll be insignificant by comparison. The same way as this something tardigrade isn't really impressing me today. We won't really impress
Mommy
something.
Tardigrade.
Something that's...
What happened to Grandpa?
Indeed.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, I don't know. That it's just weird. I'm still wondering if those things are alive on the moon still. That's where I'm at. Alive on the moon.
Have either of you gentlemen been to a powwow? Have I asked you this before?
Yeah, I've been to a powwow.
Fresh out of them here in Scotland. They're usually fully booked every weekend. It's hard to get into one.
That's why we got to get you here, my brother. As soon as I can figure out how to open up that portal on your end, I'll let you in, right?
No problem, man. No problem.
Right. But what was that that spell Harry Potter would use with his magic wand to make the tip light up?
You haven't actually watched that garbage, have you? Oh, you've got... now, hang on. You've got daughters, so I'll let you away with it. That you see that... I was thinking, you're not like some Harry Potter aficionado, are you?
Well, when my 8-year-old daughter read
Don't do
all
it,
of the
Nacy.
Harry
Don't do it, Nacy. Don't do it. Don't go full Potter, man.
After she... Come on, Expecto Patronum! Expect... Yes, I read them all. My 8-year-old read them, so I had to see what was intriguing her so much about these books. So I read them also. And wow, that would be a topic at some point for a show.
No, really, it wouldn't. Wouldn't.
But when you can show these parallels of occurrences, it's like, is art mimicking life, or is life imitating art? Because whether the media, the entertainment is book form, video form, audio form, all the different forms of stimuli, is there a manipulate the AI? That's a word you can't say. Manipulation. You can't say manipulation anymore. Sorry.
Who knows? Who knows, dude? Who knows?
Jim Jones knows. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, gentlemen, ladies, everybody else included. Yeah. So can I give you a metaphor about a powwow? That's where I was going earlier as we got derailed.
You're not going to take us back to Harry Potter, are you?
No, I won't.
Good man.
Okay, so my ancestors, we have these powwows, and if you think of a circle, and you think of 12, 6, 3, and 9 as doorways. When they would come into the center of the circle to dance to these ancient songs, they would dance a certain pattern. Okay? So depending on the song would depend on the way that they would dance. And there was certain ways that men danced and women danced, but it was their own choice. But there was kind of like a, for certain songs, it was like a ritual dance that everybody followed. So on the summer solstice, the White Earth Reservation, they have their summer powwow. And all of these Native Americans come together, and there's, 30 drums and hundreds of dancers. Imagine these extraterrestrials so beyond us that, they're sitting there at their extraterrestrial bar, and they're like, hey, what do you want to do this weekend? And they're like, hey, you know what? This weekend, the summer solstice on that planet called Galactica, they have these indigenous people, they do this ritual. It's pretty freaking cool. And so they zip across the universe, the galaxy, the solar system, and they hover so many thousands and thousands or hundreds of feet above the powwow in their cloak, so we can't see them. And they look down there, and then they see all of these indigenous people gathering and doing these spectacular aerial view dances, because they don't see the same visual spectrum that we see. They see us as this incredible, beautiful light and glowing frequency because their eyes are different than us. So they eat a couple caps and they hover a couple thousand feet above, and they're checking out, look at all the patterns, dude.
It could be, dude. Maybe that's what happened to the sheep the other day that me and Scott were talking about last night. The sheep that ended up in a miraculous-looking tight circle, were they not, Scotty?
Yeah, they were somehow compelled to form some kind of a circular pattern shape.
Yeah. There they are.
I guess. Yeah, it was very, very interesting.
Forget crop circles, it's floss circles, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed.
This could be an explanation for the crop circles, Kev. It's a whole bunch of sheep stomping the grass down in a pattern in the night.
Synchronized geometric Olympics for the benefits of our Sky brothers who come down and judge them every 4 years. We gave them a 9.7, I heard. Hey, listen, that's a weird one, though. It's a weird one.
It is.
One of our listeners was mentioning sheep. They sound like they'd been abducted or something bad had happened to them. They'd met a bad end, but these ones here, I can safely tell everyone they made it all home in one piece, and we're still none the wiser as to why they were running around in a circle.
For the universe, was that good or was that bad?
Oh, definitely the latter of the two. Definitely the latter of the two, Mr. Nacy. Yep.
Baba sheeple, have you any soul? No, sir, just a gaping hole, waiting to be filled with whatever it can be. Sorry.
Indeed.
So where do we go now? What do we have next on the
time to make this a Freaky Friday? We haven't had anything freaky yet. I've not been at tardigrades. Don't scare me. No, they don't scare me. But I tell you what does scare me: tales of demonic hobgoblin imps.
Oh,
that scares me.
You know what, Kev? I think you are as impressed with the tardigrade as Kenneth Webb is with the Mothman.
You know, actually, this is funny you bring Ken Webb up. I was thinking earlier on we could run through the list of like A to Z of cryptids, and we could find the ones that Ken Webb would approve of, and the ones that Ken Webb would not have been happy with. They would not have met his seal of approval at all.
The Ken Webb picks. of
Uh,
cryptids.
yeah, he is like he's the barometer. I tell you that it's where you stand in the pyramid. You know,
We'll
of
try to reach out to
cryptids.
him.
I
We'll
have
try to reach out to him and get his top 5 crypto picks. And in the audience, if they send Kev Baker an email, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you have more work than you already have.
And anyway, I'm very hesitant to get Ken Webb back into this craziness. Once people escape alt media and escape the info trap, don't drag them back in. They're probably doing something that they're really enjoying right now. Telling you, not that I don't enjoy this. I'm having a laugh with you folks. How can you not enjoy a mystic who battles with demonic hobgoblin imps? There you go. When I seen this headline today, I thought that's Freaky Friday. Definitely sorted. And Scotty was going to go with this one as well, but no, I trumped you. Beat you to it, Scott. Yeah. So it
Beat
says,
me to the punch.
there's been a myriad of odd, and now this story, I've read this. This is absolutely bizarre, and it gives me reason to go, we are getting into the world of France, le French demonology.
We're going to France to fight some imps.
Yes, we are French imps. Hey, somebody was. Listen, we'll see where this goes. I know where it goes. It's good. So there have been a myriad of odd individuals throughout history, and some of these truly stand out. The man named Alexis Vincent Charles Berbigue was born in 1765 in Carpentras in south of France, born to a wealthy family and heir to a large estate, but mostly known for being an author, a mystic, and a demonologist in later years. So far, so eccentric, but Berbigue was perhaps even weirder than your typical demonologist. Now, we're talking about France, we're talking about demonologists, and DJ was asking what Everard was earlier. Maybe the answer lies in here. I tell you, he could be in here, Scott. He could be.
Everard is right now battling hobgoblin imps.
You better believe it. You better believe it. In the pyramid. And then he claimed that he had been constantly tormented by imps or hobgoblins since his youth, and had sworn to dedicate his life to wiping their scourge from the face of the earth. Now, let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a teenage lad plagued by hobgoblins and imps, where does one turn to? Whether you're French, Canadian, Australian, British, American, where do you turn to? Where is that authority that you go to on such impish little matters? It's a valid question. So it all apparently started when he was a young man, when Berbigue claimed that he had an encounter with a type of female oracle or a prophet called a sibyl. Now, he said that he had met 2 sibyls to seek consultation, but the meeting obviously did not go according to plan. He somehow angered the 2 oracles, who then went about making sure that he would be followed about and terrorized by a type of demon called a farfadet, or since we're in France, farfadet, which could most aptly be variously translated into sprite, imp, brownie, leprechaun, or hobgoblin. Now, Alex Jones allegedly kissed some of them, but there's no photographic evidence, so we don't know. Now, these creatures have a strong presence in French folklore, usually described as looking like little or tiny little dwarves with a wrinkled brown skin, dishevelled hair and beards, and dressed in tattered clothes. Now, although Berbigue, that's what we're going to call him now, Big Baby must have gotten a bad batch because they set about making his life completely and utterly miserable. According to Berbigue, the leader of these imps was named Rotto Mago, who in turn answered to none other than Beelzebub, which is a bad sign, and they went about constantly tormenting Barbigier, and with all manner of mischievous tricks, and sometimes even outright attacks. Even Beelzebub would purportedly occasionally make appearances or write taunting letters to him. A sternly worded letter from Beelzebub should be enough to make anyone change their ways. I'm just saying. No matter where he went, they were never too far behind, following him all over the country, never giving him a moment's rest. And he would write of his constant menace. I have suffered much, and I'm still suffering. For 20 years, demons, sorcerers, and farfadets have not allowed me to a moment's rest. Everywhere they pursue me, in the town, in the country, in the church, and at home, and even in his bed, ladies and gentlemen. No peace. My head is sound, and no defect mars the good condition of my body. I am made in the image of our Saviour. Why then have I been chosen as the principal victim? He's questioning his own faith, his own God, as to how he's been put in this terrible conundrum. So it says, in order to combat this threat, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, always a good start, Barbie gathered an arsenal of magical protections and weapons to defend himself. Chief among these being sulphur and thyme, which he claimed warded the imps off, as well as other herbal remedies. A bull's heart pierced with thorns, pins and needles, amulets and charms. Now, he would claim to have found ways to capture the imps in bottles, brushes, pins, sponges, and to have even found ways to get rid of them. Oh, well trained, this guy, he doesn't mess. Which gave him the idea that it all had a purpose, that he was God's righteous fist on earth to combat and defeat these demons. He got so good at it that he began adding to his name the title of the Terre Neuve du Time, meaning the new world of time, and calling himself Le Fleur de Farfadet, or the scourge of the imps. I like it. He would also constantly make pleas to understandably skeptical officials and leaders that the demonic threat needed to be taken seriously, once imploring in a written declaration. Here he goes. He's sternly worded letter, not Beelzebub this time. To all the emperors, kings, princes, and sovereigns of the four parts of the world, my lords, fathers, our nations, you who represent the heavenly God of peace and consolation on earth, unite your efforts to my own to destroy the power of demons, witches, and imps.
He was trying to gather a coalition
He was. I'm telling you, putting together. It was like the X-Men. Telling you, you can't just go in and fight the imps yourself. They might be small, but they are many.
He was wanting to form the UN back in the 1700s in order to fight imps and witches and.
Sounds like it, dude. Sounds like it. Says they devastate the unhappy dwellers of your countries. You see at your feet the most unfortunate of men. The torments with which I have struggled for these 25 years are the best titles that I can bear before your paternal gaze. The diabolical persecutions of the imps would have long since been ended on earth, had one of your subjects had the courage to reveal them to you. It is in order to unmask them that I have dedicated my work to you, that you may not be heedless to my torments, and that you will work to end them now that they are known to you. Some truly terrifying imagery to accompany this. It says, through it all, Big B would rant about the threat of the imps to anyone who would listen. But if he's got that much time to rant about it, he obviously isn't spending too much time fighting them. I think he doth protest too much. He's just after likes and shares. It's like clickbait back in the day, Scott. That's what it was. And although this was at first all mostly scoffed at or met with raised eyebrows, he would only further derail and become more unhinged over time. He took to lighting fires of sulphur and thyme around Paris and accusing people of being the hobgoblins in disguise. Hobgoblins in disguise. Dun, dun, dun. It started to worry the authorities.
I know it.
Started to worry the authorities, who were increasingly seeing him as a potential threat to himself and others around him. Big B was eventually arrested for being absolutely mad. No, public disorder. And did not help his case for those who believed him to be insane when, at his trial, he produced some ornate brushes and a bottle and said to the court, "These brushes, ladies and gentlemen, they only contain the souls of the hobgoblins who came to attack me last night. Look at this bottle. Well, it contains millions of hobgoblins. Can't you see them? They're tardigrades." We'll be back after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere.
And then we'll open up the bottle.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, come on. I couldn't resist the tardigrade joke. Come on, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're so tiny you don't see them, you know?
That's the answer to an infestation of imps. Tardigrades. You just unleash them, man.
So with the goblins,
Well,
would they be the type of entities that would like come around your house and like take your keys away for about 3-4 hours and then giggle as they put them back?
Like ghosts, ghosts. I would imagine there's varying degrees and there's probably a Dan level system to the hobgoblins as well. You probably get really kind of mighty ones, and then you get key stealing ones, and yeah.
I think those are the gnomes, right? Aren't the gnomes the ones that are like stealing your keys and running around with the pointy hats?
Yeah. They get fed up fishing in the garden. I mean, you can't blame them. There's only so long you can stand around the garden doing one thing forever.
But what if you did a binding circle?
I don't know.
Can't say again. It's like powwows. It's like powwows. They're booked out. Can't get into a binding circle for love nor money.
Well, you can make your own.
It can't do that in Scotland. Why? Don't know. Tell me why I can't do it. Come on, Nacy. Bind me in your circle.
Just silver, copper, or gold.
Yeah.
I mean, some say you can, well, you know, if everything's about manipulating fields and you put enough intentions into it, if you draw a circle on the ground with chalk, you've created a circle. What is your intention of that circle? And then all of a sudden
circle.
Well, a circle is what it is, but at one time portals were made out of circles. I hear these incredible stories of my ancestors to utilize these lodges. You know, some people call them sweat lodges, you know, but they're these little circular wigwams. And, you know, some elders go in there, they do some things, and they come out, and then they grab a deer hide, and then they draw a map.
That's what the hobgoblin said.
Or if you went to this elder and said, "Hey, I have a hobgoblin hobgoblin problem."
No, that is not a good one. Definitely not. I'm not even going to try it.
Hobgoblin problem. Wow,
a hobgoblin.
It is kind of a. That's kind of a tough one.
That's going to be a drinking game for you guys. Hobgoblin problem.
HGP. Sounds like something you should go to the doctor with. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So if you have this challenge because these entities are violating your domicile, who do you call upon? Ghostbusters? The tardigrade team?
I reckon you just got to hope you don't incur the wrath of a division of fighting hobgoblins along your journey. That's really the best idea. Try not to anger the hobgoblin community. You see? I try to look for easy way around these things, and you don't have to like get any sorcerers in or magic circles or just don't piss off a hobgoblin. It's simple, right? It can't be that. I mean, come on.
Accidents happen.
True.
Accidents happen. This guy wasn't planning on, pissing off.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and sets out to piss off a hobgoblin. Come on, you know.
Gotta remember, Kev.
There
He
we
was
go.
he was cursed by the oracles. Remember?
Yes, that's right.
He was trying to get through your door right under your feet.
Welcome
and you
back,
shut the door so quick.
ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are live, moving into the second part of today's Freaky Friday. And don't forget, coming up right after today's show, we have got Brent Thomas, and he'll be taking you through the paranormal portal. And then they say you're on a show later, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. With Paisley Wild, spaces between, right here on TFR Live.
So what's that all about, dude? What's that going to be all about?
We're going to talk about Native American rituals, ceremonies, appropriations. So some interesting things. She's my favorite. We kind of joke about the title or the label of born again pagan, because technically if you look at, any religion different than another religion is usually frowned upon. And my ancestry isn't always copacetic with a lot of other religions out there. Because we were like, Mother Earth on Turtle Island on the back of a turtle. And some people from across the ocean couldn't believe that, but then they told us about this woman who had a miraculous virgin birth. And we were just like, what? We've never experienced that.
Nice. Well, a big shout out to Norway. Lady Rose from Norway tuning in. Yes, so we've got Sid in Norway as well. Yeah, we'll go down a treat over in Norway. Indeed.
Ja, vi ska destum för London, Sol Delphi. Oh, I butchered that.
There we go.
Sorry.
Anyway, we're going to get back into the hobgoblins, right? Because we don't want to incur the wrath of them. They're waiting patiently. It says he's brushing. Remember, this guy trying to plead his case to the court. I think he's onto something here. I'm looking at the jury, and I think he might have them, folks, because he says these brushes, gentlemen, contain the souls of the hobgoblins who came to attack me last night. Look at this bottle. It contains millions of hobgoblins. Oh, laugh as long as you like. But were it not for me, you would not be so much at your ease, not even the judges upon the bench. If it wasn't for that man, the whole world would have been invaded by hobgoblins, armed with tardigrades and eternal jellyfish. There you go. May come as no surprise that he was found to be insane. Oh, no. And committed to the Hospice de la Salpêtrière in 1816, where he became a patient of Dr. Philippe Pinel, a pioneer of psychotherapy. Oh, he eventually convinced him he was the hobgoblin. He used all of his free time to write 3-volume series of manuscripts called Le Farfadet autour les démons ne sont pas de l'autre monde. Or in English, the imps or all the demons are not from the other world. That's terrifying. The imps or all the demons are not from the other world, suggesting, ladies and gentlemen, they're from here, which was published between 1818 and 1820. It includes his autobiography, chronicling his struggles with the imps, as well as detailed instructions on how to ward them off, banish them, capture them, or dare I say it, even kill them. Most of it rambling on and accompanied by elaborate illustrations. When he languished away at the hospice, he also became convinced that the staff, the caretakers, and even the doc himself were actually imps and demons in disguise. Boy, had problems, he really did. Caretakers, sometimes even claimed they were high-level demons. For instance, he believed that one of his doctors was the demon Moloch, and that a local druggist was really Lilith. Despite this, Big B was eventually released, but he never really did stop talking and writing about all the imps and demons around him. And when he went to his grave, still believing himself to be haunted by them, but not before an unsuccessful attempt to destroy all of his written works for reasons unknown, because the hobgoblin's done a deal with him, obviously. Who was this strange man who was so dedicated his life to fighting these dark supernatural forces? Were these hobgoblins or imps even real in any sense at all outside of his own deranged mind? Could there have been something to this? Or is it just the rantings of a lunatic? It's been debated over the years whether he was a simply psychotic or otherwise afflicted with deep mental issues and experiencing hallucinations. Whatever the case may be, it all sure is a wild ride at the very least. Little people, Nacy, Scotty, we've covered these before, right?
Can I throw this out there? If somebody put a curse on you, right? And you're the only one who's cursed, wouldn't you be the only one to see these horrific things that you've been cursed with, right? Because the curse is just tied to you. I mean, I'm just saying, right? Like if you're like, say it's a like a voodoo situation, right? And somebody's doing the thing with the pins and stuff in the doll, and you're like, oh my god, my you know, like your arm feels like it's hurting, or your head or whatever. You go to the doctor and you're like, something's wrong with me, I don't feel right, you know. And then maybe they say, well, this is all in your head because we don't see anything wrong with you, you know. If these oracles cursed him, if that's true, right? If we're to go by what he says, and that these oracles cursed him, then maybe he wasn't crazy. Maybe he was being tormented, right, due to this curse, but he's the only one experiencing it, right? Because the curse is only on him. And so to everybody else, he seems absolutely insane and crazy, and there's no way he can convince them.
Or what if he had just one molecule too much of red dye number 5, and it short-circuited some spot in his brain because somehow it got into his bloodstream and it got deposited in his brain, and it caused an electromagnetic little snafu, some shenanigans to happen in your brain to where your visual spectrum all of a sudden got shifted just a tiny bit, enough to where you can now see these goblins.
Yeah, who knows? Or yeah, what if he was able to see a spectrum that most people can't see, and he was able to see these entities, like you said, you know. Well, or maybe most likely he was crazy. You know,
there was a bit of that going on. Definitely sounded it when they were all turning into goblins.
Yeah, you know, I think that there's, you know, the more likely scenario and the more logical explanation is that we're dealing with somebody who probably was, you know, look, it's what the late 1700s, early 1800s. And at that time, you know, people didn't understand stuff like schizophrenia or, you know, the hallucinations that come with things like that. So, I mean, it's a possibility, but either way, a very interesting story, no doubt.
Big time, big time. They mentioned a Sybil in there. Now, that made me think of when I stayed down in Yorkshire. There was a place called Knaresborough, and there was a place called Mother Shipton's Inn, if I remember rightly, was the name of the absolutely brilliant pub. But it was the story that surrounded the place and how it got its name that really intrigued me. And I really enjoyed kind of learning all about it when I lived down there at the time. And just when we were talking Sybils, that's what came to mind. So we'll go with it. take a look at Mother Shipton. You guys ever heard of Mother Shipton before? Might be
No,
a new
I
one on you boys, might be. So it says here.
Yes, sorry.
On you
Yes, I
go.
did about 5 years ago.
Okay, it says
She had a bunch of writings that prophesized. You could label it because they have come pretty darn close
Excuse me,
to.
it's ma'am.
don't call him he.
Exactly.
Don't misgender Mother Shipton again, please.
Oh,
Excuse
you
me,
didn't
it's
know she
ma'am.
came out?
Yeah, there we go. So Mother Shipton is the most famous prophetess of the British Isles. She, always been a she. She staunchly identifies as a she.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
That's what I said, Mother Shipton. Don't get triggered. Is one of the many figures of romance who achieved widespread fame and notoriety many years after the real exploits of their lives had faded from the pages of history. With such a passage of time and lack of historic evidence, there is even debate as to whether she existed at all. Many of her prophecies are undoubtedly later fabrications, or are they? And the first written accounts of her exploits were published 80 years after her supposed passing. Whatever the truth has been, a fertile source of folklore and myth down through the centuries. In this short essay, we will examine in brief the legend of her life, and then look at some of the alleged prophecies and their likely origin. So her legendary life, the first stories of Mother Shipton appear in chapbooks from mid-17th century, and a basic story of her life can be summarised as follows. Mother Shipton was born in Knaresborough, North Yorkshire, in 1488 as Ursula Southhill to a poor single mother. According to tradition, her mother had been seduced out of wedlock and passed during her birth. Her birthplace has been identified as the cave by the River Nid, which bears her name. Now, another place associated with her is the nearby Dropping Well, where the limestone-rich waters have the power of turning objects to stone. Now, the cave and the well were probably religious places long before her alleged birth, and may have become associated with her as her legend grew. So Ursula was not a pretty baby by any stretch of the imagination. That's a bit cruel. You can't ugly shame a baby. In fact, she was hideous to behold, and it was difficult to find a nurse to care for her. More harsh times back then. Eventually, a woman who lived on the
Did she look like a tardigrade? Is that what was going on?
Must have done. Eventually, a woman who lived on the outskirts of Knaresborough agreed to be her foster mother. So strange happenings were reported throughout her childhood. Furniture reportedly moved around the house of its own volition. Plates and crockery were said to fly around the room. And her powers of prophecy were evident at an early age. Now, many stories were told of her childhood, and one morning, the young baby and her crib were found to be missing from the house. Several villagers were brought into her home to search for clues to her disappearance and were attacked by supernatural forces and pricked by imps in the form of monkeys, time-traveling chimera monkeys, and probably with the imps that were torturing the Frenchman.
How about that for coming full circle, right?
There you go,
We got imps, monkeys, and it sounds like she was attacked by imp monkey hybrids, Kev.
Definitely.
What if they were winged monkeys?
Could well have been. Could well have been.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too. Scotty dog.
Eventually, after some of the neighbours were thrown around the room, attached to a yoke, Ursula was discovered in her crib, hanging in midair, halfway up the chimney. Now, as she grew into adulthood, her inborn ugliness did not improve, and descriptions of her visage paint a particularly ugly figure. Her nose was a sight to be seen in itself, being of improportional length and with many crooks and turnings. Her stature was larger than common. She was a big girl. Hey, big girls. Hey, listen. Listen, I think she's sounding cracking so far. Her body crooked and her face frightful. Shh. 2 or 3 pints. 2 or 3 pints, ladies and gentlemen, and a light switch. Ah, beauty. Beauty is only beer and a light switch away. She had great goggling eyes, and her wreck of a nose also gave off a faint luminosity. She had a glowing nose. People, this took ugly to the next level. Let's not, come on, let's not kind of gloss over it here, boys. She was a state.
She was an offspring of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and genetically
like
manipulated.
A proto Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Is that what we're dealing with?
I would
here?
rather have had relations with a reindeer by the sounds of this woman. I'm just saying. However, her hideous appearance did not stop her from finding a suitable husband. See, there is somebody for everyone, ladies and gents.
There was somebody that was willing to take a crack at it, so there we go.
They must have came on the Love Boat.
Exactly.
Exotic and...
There you go. I'm telling you, it was a match made on the Love Boat. So the husband and Ursula were married at the age of 24. And his name, the victim's name, was Toby Shipton, a carpenter from Shipton. They set up home in Knaresborough, which became a magnet for people far and wide in search of her words of wisdom and prophetic powers. Well, it certainly wasn't her dashing good looks that was attracting people to the area. Her fame soon spread and she became known as Mother Shipton. Mother Shipton was thought to have passed in 1561, and it was an event that she prophesied. So it says her prophecies. She is said to have prophesied many things during her lifetime, including the Civil War, the dissolution of the monasteries, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada. However, many of the rhymes are obscure, and like many obscure riddles, such as those of Nostradamus, can be moulded to fit a number of events. That happens all the time, doesn't it? And the earliest pamphlets and books about Mother Shipton were published in 1641 and 1684, many years after her passing, and we can assume that the fertile imagination of the 17th century writers has much to answer for. We can certainly be sure that the predictions that were recorded in the early pamphlets were describing events that had already come to pass, such as her many predictions about Cardinal Wolsey. The editor of the 1684 edition of her work, Richard Head, you've got to be joking. Richard Head, Big Dick, invented much of the story of her life and the descriptions of her, even if these were based on legend and folklore that have been passed down by word of mouth.
Very, very unfortunate name Richard had. Just saying.
Not only was he head of his class in elementary school, but he was in middle school and in the universities.
He certainly was. Certainly was. Later writers were also fabricated prophecies. For example, Charles Hindley admitted that he had concocted many of the predictions in 1862 to fool the Victorian public. In particular, those prophecies easily recognizable to the Victorian mind, such as, "A house of glass shall come to pass in England, but alas, war will follow with the work in the land of the pagan and the Turk." I like it. At least her little kind of ditties, her little quatrains, they're a bit more snappy than Nostradamus, which is an obvious reference to the Crystal Palace and the Crimean War. So what are you making of this character so far, boys? She's an interesting one.
I think that when it comes to this Mother Shipton, I think we're probably dealing with a mix of embellishment along with maybe some real stuff, because you had this guy, he pretty much admitted to, fabricating a lot of these prophecies. But from all accounts, there are actually real prophecies that she made. And so I just think that probably a lot of her stuff is muddied, and it's hard to tell what can actually be attributed to her and what's not. And then, of course, the question of, did she even actually exist to begin with? And
interesting one here. Here we go.
it is.
It says, Mother Shipton was certainly popular during the Victorian era, and in 1881, the year that she is supposed to have prophesied the end of the world. Well, got that one wrong. The world to an end shall come in 1881. Many people fled from their homes to pray in their local churches, ready for the coming Armageddon. Now, her popularity in the 17th century is also suggested in the story that Prince Rupert is said to have remarked, "Now Shipton's prophecy is out after hearing of the fire of London in 1666. I've also heard this attributed to Samuel Pepys."
Cupcake Paper donated $2.99 through Super Chat. Freaky Friday fun money.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It says, more recently, writer Alan Vaughan studied original editions of the prophecies in the British Museum, which led him to believe that the prophecies were rewritten in the 1960s from the works of a 19th century writer. It says some of Mother Shipton's more famous prophecies are as follows. Well, we've got a couple of minutes to go for the break. I'll do a couple of these. Carriages without horses shall go, and accidents fill the world with woe. Around the world thoughts shall fly in the twinkling of an eye. Now, it says, said to predict cars, telephone. I was thinking internet, satellites, planes, and other things. It says, underwater men shall walk, shall ride, shall ride, shall sleep, shall talk. In the air men shall be seen, in white, in black, in green. Said to predict submarines, hot air balloons, or planes. Last one here, it says, over a wild and stormy sea shall a noble sail, who to find will not fail, a new and fair country. From whence he shall bring a herb and a root, that all men shall suit, and please both the ploughman and the king. The discovery of tobacco or the potato. There you go, boys. So that's Mother Shipton. There you go. A new one for you. So I like to bring something new to the table.
Yeah, she has a reminds me of who's the blind Russian
Baba
lady?
Vanga.
Baba Vanga. She sounds like a Baba Vanga from the
very much along those lines. Yep.
And do you have a problem with Russians?
No, absolutely not.
Or blind people. But you know what? The question I have for both of you, especially you, Captain Kev, what is your prophecy?
That we'll be going to the break in about a couple of minutes.
Oh my God.
And about an hour from now, there'll be a portal. I can see a P. I can see something paranormal about it. And this guy stood beside it by the name of Brett or Brent or, yeah.
P.
I've seen it too. It's starting to come in. Yeah.
I'm going to utilize my third eye.
That's for a last name.
Thomas. Thomas. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Listen, folks, coming up right after Freaky Friday is the Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, and then Nacy will be on after that with Paisley West.
Wild.
Paisley Wild, then. Paisley West, Paisley Wild. Who knows? You're the one going on the show, dude. You're the one that knows.
Paisley Wild. Well, I appreciate the shout out. Thank you. Miigwech. Chi Miigwech. So are we going to go to this break? Are we going to rock and roll into this break? Or is it just going to sneak up on us like we didn't know that the break was happening right now? Or now?
Still got a couple of minutes yet.
Oh.
Well, we're about to find out. We're about to find out if the prophecy comes true, right? We prophesized that a break is coming up, so we'll see. We'll find out.
I need to squeegee my third eye with Go Ask Alice.
Indeedy.
And when we get back, I think we're going to take a trip and look at a classic case from the early years of UFOs.
Nice. Sounds good
and
to me.
Real quick, remember last week, Scotty, you had to jump off, right?
Oh, yes, I had to scramble because there was a little bit of interesting weather coming in. Yes, I'm fine. I'm alive. It was...
Or is it our Scotty AI, whether or not you're still here?
Indeed, I am. And you guys are all here. We get back from the break.
There we go, boys. There we go. Very good.
The AI is working well.
All systems nominal.
Something like that.
Oh, Kev, last week I was going through some stuff on my computer and I come across some of those. Remember when I used to call in and I would play an audio voice?
Oh, yeah,
over my computer?
Yeah, I remember that.
I came across some of those.
Yeah, that was, yeah, I remember that, man. So, Scotty, have you got something to go next? I've got something good for us to finish off in the final part.
Whatever you want to do, man. I'm in.
You go for it. You go for it, dude.
And you've got something. We could probably get through both of them in that time. So
you go for it. You're up.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow. Hobgoblins and imps and all that. But
that was some story, that wasn't it?
But hey, I mean, mine's from the mysterious universe as well, so it'll be pretty good.
Always is, dude. Always is.
You're at the kitchen sink. You're filling it up with some water, taking a drink, and all of a sudden you look in your backyard and there's some like hobgoblin right there, just peeking in at you.
As long as it's not the rake, that's the one I wouldn't want staring in the window.
Speaking of something like that, you want to hear something funny? Like, my mother, well, everybody, my mom and my dad, they kept spotting this mysterious animal that they would just kind of catch it for a second and then it would scurry off, and they didn't know exactly what it was, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And we were wondering, okay, it's not a raccoon. It's not, it's about the size though. Well, finally, because this thing has been around here for at least 2 months or something like that. And
is it a mamcoon? Mam.
We finally got a good visual on it, and we know what it is. We've got a freaking a groundhog.
Ooh.
Groundhog running around here, and that probably explains why our dog has been freaking out.
It probably explains why every day seems the same.
Well, Groundhog Day was right. 6 weeks later.
Yep.
Oh, it's more than 6 weeks. It's 8 weeks later than Groundhog's Day. Sorry.
A very American thing, Groundhog Day.
The ground.
Well, that's the nice thing about spring and the groundhog, because now it is a awoke animal.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I remember hearing something about that. The funniest thing I remember though is when they took Punxsutawney Phil out to do the see if he sees his shadow and all that a couple of years ago, and he like bit the ear of the guy that was like I don't know if he was the mayor of the town or something, but like he bit the dude's ear and they dropped Punxsutawney Phil, unfortunately.
Here we go,
And
boys. Here we go.
it was just hilarious.
Yeah. Little bit yet, and then we'll get Scotty. We'll get Scotty boy with some UFO woo. Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it. Oh, yo, tired tonight.
Same here. I am too. It's been a long day. Been up since earlier this morning.
Here we go. There we go. We're back. We're live, and it's very, very sleepy time around here. Me and Scott are going for 40 winks. Nathan's going to tell us a bedtime story. No, we're good. We've only got 1 hour to go, and we are going deep woo on Freaky Friday. Now, don't forget, coming up right after today's show, you got Brent Thomas first of all, and then you got Paisley Wild. And on today's show with Paisley, you've got this guy called Nacy. So yes, well worth staying tuned. It's all happening right here on TFRlive.com, your #1 network. And now, hand over to Scott. UFO lore. Where are we going, dude?
I guess I was scouring through the mysterious universe, and this caught my eye. You know, I just kind of go with my gut. If something just catches my eye, I click it, and we'll see where it goes from here. So this is from the big man himself, Mr. Nick Redfern, and it says, "Robot or monster? Looking back at a classic case from the early years of UFOs." Says, on the night of September 12th, 1952, something terrifying descended upon the small West Virginian town of Flatwoods. Precisely what it was remains very much a mystery to this day. All that can really be said for sure is that it was hideous, fear-inducing, and downright monstrous. It has quite appropriately become known as the Flatwoods Monster. Situated in Braxton County and dominated by a cool, picturesque forested landscape, Flatwoods is a distinctly small town that is apparent from the fact that today its population is less than 400. Back in 1952, though, it was even less than that. On the night in question, however, the people of the town found themselves briefly added to by one visitor from, well, no one really knows from where. It all began as the sun was setting on what was a warm, still September evening. A group of boys from Flatwoods was playing football in the town's schoolyard when they were frozen to the spot by the sight of a briefly lit, fiery object that shot overhead, provoking amazement and wonder in the process. All that the boys could be sure of was that the object appeared to be either egg-shaped or circular. Its color fluctuated from orange to a fiery red. As the stunned children watched in awe, they saw the object begin to descend, and at a high rate of speed, no less, and then appear to come down on one of Flatwood's largest hilltops. Not surprisingly, being kids, they saw this as a big adventure, looming large. The result, they, with a woman named Kathleen May and a recent U.S. Army recruit, Eugene Lemon, headed off for the scene of all the action. It wasn't long before the group reached the hill in question, and with nightfall rapidly closing in, the first thing the group noticed as they reached the darkened peak was something brightly lit within the trees. What it was, no one had a clue, but it clearly wasn't the lights of a farmhouse, a truck, or car. Suddenly, the air was filled with a sickening odor, not unlike that of devilish brimstone. That was not a good sign. To their credit, however, they pushed on, determined to figure out the true nature of the source behind the lights. They soon found out as the air became filled with a strange, sizzling sound. Nothing less than a pair of self-illuminated red eyes could be seen getting ever closer. Kathleen May had the presence of mind to bring a flashlight with her, and she quickly focused it on the eyes. In doing so, she also lit up the abominable creature that possessed those fiery eyes. As looming before the now terrified band of intrepid souls was an approximately 10-foot tall floating monster. It appeared to be humanoid in shape and had something almost like a large, black, hood-like piece behind its head that gave the entire thing an ace of spades type appearance. Oddly, its lower half was ice cream cone shaped and had wires and cables running from it. This issue of the cone-shaped lower portion led flying saucer sleuths to later suggest that the monster may actually have been encased within some kind of remotely piloted vehicle. As the creature then turned its attention to the group and wildly fired laser-like beams from its eyes, the brave band was suddenly brave no more. They didn't wait to see what might happen next. One and all fled, screaming, possibly for their lives. Mrs. May breathlessly shouted to the boys to follow her to her home, which they all did. On arrival, and possibly as a result of exposure to the noxious odor that hung around the hill, several of the boys became violently ill, feeling nauseous and even outright vomiting. Kathleen May quickly called local police, who, rather intriguingly, were busy responding to reports of what was described as an airplane crash somewhere in the area. It turns out that no such crashed aircraft was ever found, something that suggests the airplane and the brightly lit UFO that descended upon the hill, or the high hill that night, were almost certainly one and the very same. As a result of the fact that Flatwoods was and still is a very small town, word soon got out about what had happened. The local media was quickly on the scene, and even the U.S. Air Force sat up and took careful notice. Despite intense investigations by the press and the military, the mystery of the Flatwoods monster was never solved to the satisfaction of everyone. The creature was long gone by the time anyone else was on the scene. It is, however, decidedly interesting to note that Flatwoods is only around 125 miles from the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where from 1966 to 1967, yet another red-eyed monster was seen. Of course, we all know that is the famous Mothman.
But you know, that story, right, before it even got to Mothman there, the description where it was talking about wires coming out of this entity, whatever it was, I kind of wrote that down because that's what, not some 10-foot tall entity or the Mothman, but people that were getting visited by what we would call the Men in Black. There's a couple of incidents where the people have described this very strange individual that turned up, and they had like wires coming out the bottom of their trouser. It was weird. Just when you read that there, it was almost like listening to exactly the same thing. But like I say, this was a description of more a Man in Black type entity than some 10 to 12 foot glowing eyed kind of weird thing flying about, you know?
It sounds like this thing was segmented into like two different parts. You had like a top half and a bottom half, right? And they said the bottom half was shaped kind of like an ice cream cone or something and had wires and stuff coming out of it. And then the top half is like where you had this weird humanoid shape and the red eyes and stuff. So first thing that comes to my mind is, I mean, was this an actual organic creature, or were they interacting with a possible robot AI kind of thing, right? And you know, we've talked about this before, Kev. If you're doing space exploration or you're sending things out, you're going to send probes out and you're going to send robots out first, right? So, you know, are we looking at something like that? Were they looking at a probe or a robot of some kind from some alien civilization? I don't know. It's really interesting though. There's obviously this component of technology, you know, some kind of a technological thing going on. You know, if there's wires and stuff coming out of it, or are you looking at a alien species that has sort of merged themselves with technology and that kind of thing, like a cybernetic sort of situation going on? I don't know. It's definitely an interesting case, though.
What do you
No
reckon,
doubt.
Macy? What do you reckon, Tip Man? What are you thinking to this one?
Well, if you think of the area that it occurred, you know, that's past the Anishinaabe territory, I would make the assumption that this entity was probably there for a while. So it'd be interesting to see if I could throw it out there in the smoke signals and see if I can get some answers of the area. But how would you generalize its appearance? Because I've heard, you know, variations.
Oh, of this creature right here, the one that they
10 foot tall, was it not?
10 foot, yeah, 10 foot tall. It had red eyes, but then like the lower half of the body had like wires and stuff protruding out of it. So it would suggest some kind of something of technological, you know, merged with technology in some way. I don't know. I think it's also interesting, you know, how these boys got sick and everything. They were exposed to something that had made them ill, whether it be, you know, whatever this odor was, or were we talking more along the lines of maybe some kind of a radiation or exposure to something that's harmful to humans? You know, it's yeah, I don't know. And the fact that, you know, this is in the same kind of region that the whole Mothman thing, you know, happened in is kind of interesting as well. So I don't know.
But you get that same kind of gaseous odor after you eat a bunch of haggis.
Ah.
You could do, right enough, you could do. So listen, how about if we go to this here?
Speculation Island.
Give me a moment now, make sure I've got the right bit. Here we are. And this here is a big giant rock, is what people are saying. That's what we're looking at. Well, it's not. It's the Mundrabilla meteorite. Now, why is this even worthy of conversation? So I've been taking a look to see if there's any anecdotal / scientific type evidence to back up some of the stuff that we're saying about Australia and UFOs and things going on in the ancient past. And this is a very, very special meteor indeed, because it may look like just a giant hunk of rock, very rust colored, very Australian colored, right? But it's magical. And it's magical in the sense that it is superconductive. And it's even had scientists speculating as to whether this is just some organic meteor or whether, in fact, it could well have been some ancient alien technology. So, just a few factors about this thing for people who might not have heard about it. I kind of dug it up today. It's the first time I'd heard of this.
It's a big meteorite.
Yeah, it's 900 or 9,980 kilogram meteorite, which crashed into Australia, contains tiny amounts of natural superconducting materials. Now, that's something that we would love to be able to achieve. Absolutely love to. But as of yet, well, we're still struggling. But it says here, meteorites sometimes contain naturally occurring superconductors, materials that conduct electricity without any resistance. A team of physicists has found. And the result, reported here today at the annual March meeting, this goes back to 2018, of the American Physical Society, won't revolutionize a scientist's understanding of the solar system, but it could raise hopes of finding a material that is a superconductor at room temperature, which could potentially lead to technological breakthroughs, such as magnetically levitating trains. Now, if we come down here, it says the researchers validated their technique on thousands of samples of materials, and now they have applied it to small samples scraped from the surfaces of 16 different meteorites, and they found evidence of superconductivity in samples of these two meteorites. The Mundrabilla meteorite, it's a chunk of iron discovered in the Australian outback in 1911, and another one which was found in Antarctica in 1995. Now, guys, I was going to say that once the researchers found the positive magnetic signal, they visualized or visually teased out the different types of grains in each powdered sample. The reason I bring this up here is because we often talk about ancient technology and stuff like that, and when you start to look into this meteor even further, it's like this superconductive component it's got to Scotty, for this to have just like randomly occurred, or just to have like magically kind of come up with that, I don't know, dude. For me, it might look like an old rock, but I think there's something very, very technological to that.
They're the odds of that occurring naturally, or I think, are pretty, and if they found it from two different meteorites, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm open to it being potentially being something a little more than just something that naturally occurs, and then once again, I mean, Australia, man, all the stuff that they find in Australia, that when it comes to these stones and stuff like that, it's like,
Well, I got an idea today of just how big Australia is. We all know it's massive, but sometimes, it takes a story to come along to kind of really cement it. This one here done it for me. 2020 this comes from, folks. Massive meteor crater found in Western Australia thought to be 100 million years old. We're only finding things now in Australia that have been there for 100 million years, Scott, because it's that remote. You know what I mean? It's there's that much land that just there's nobody there, nothing going on. But this here, like I say, 100 million years old. Some meteor. So could that have deposited the panspermia? The old could that have brought tardigrades with it, boys, to take us full circle today?
Maybe, man, maybe. what I'm wondering. I mean, when
Get your filthy hands off me, you dirty ape.
Yep. Would you make this one nice? Say, what are you thinking to it, man? Nothing. Scott, what are you thinking to it?
If the manipulation's happening, then they're going to do it for one reason or not. Whether they're entities here, we can do it because we can, or entities from elsewhere. You know, if the manipulation of all of this happens to create some kind of humanoid that could continue on the existence of the human species, and therefore the continuation of the human species continues on.
And on and on and on and on.
And on. Just like an immortal jellyfish, right? Yeah. No, I mean, no, I think that these, you know, quote unquote, naturally occurring, superconductors or whatever that they're finding in these meteorites. Yeah, I mean, why haven't they been able to figure out how to even how to create a superconductor that can operate at room temperature, you know, artificially? I don't even think we have anything like that, right?
No.
No,
we're just getting into that kind of thing now.
Yeah, so, you know, we something we haven't been able to even do, you know, technologically wise, is just quote unquote naturally occurring in this rock. Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Looking at the Baltic Sea anomaly last night, you know, that got me thinking about the whole UFOs, ancient UFO type things again. And then when I was kind of reading about this whole super conductivity, I was thinking, wow, that would be kind of cool, would it not? That's kind of special. That's kind of out there. Like you say, maybe all meteors have this, but again, if they do, then how come we haven't back engineered it to where we've got superconductors at room temperature? You'd have expected them to do that by now, right?
If this occurred naturally or whatever, they should be able to take a piece of it, analyze it, figure out what the composite, you know, what kind of alloys or whatever they need to put together to create this thing, create the superconductivity that can exist at room temperature, but they haven't. So obviously there's something contained within this meteorite that we just were unable to manufacture or even, you know, create right now.
It's kryptonite, man. That's what it is.
Could it be the remains of Nibiru when it exploded and its inner core got thrown out to an opposite orbital path than our own? And every now and then it comes back again and again and again. And lo and behold, we're here.
I thought it exploded. If it exploded the first time, would it come back again?
Well, if its core was a solid structure, or what if they had the technology to utilize one of their drives to jump on one of their moons to go off planet further because it's going to explode. Moonbase Alpha. Ooh, good storyline. Space 1999.
Could be. You never know, dude. You never know.
Would you go, Kev? What if they came up to you and they're like, hey, you know what? We really like you, what you're doing. We enjoy it. We'd like you to do it for Spaceship Alpha. Your family can come along and you can pick another 33 1/3 person.
I'd probably give up both testicles, a number of limbs, probably a few other things to get myself on that spaceship. Yep. Probably.
Kev's ready to get on that spaceship.
Oh, I'm about done with this place, dude. Oh, I'm done. Yeah, just get me out of here. Blast me off, dude. Yuri Milner could digitize me. I'd probably take a digital seat on a a miniature satellite and get fired off to Alpha Centauri and live happily
It's like
never after.
It's like the meme of that scientist from Futurama where he's like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore, you know?
Some days, dude, some days I think to myself, wow. Most days now I think at least one time every day, how can I get off this rock? Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with the Popeye theory on this, and I think that Earth is just a giant reality TV show, and that any alien species, they just kind of swing by just out of range, just enough to where they can observe us and see what's going on reality TV Earth, and they just point and go, wow, look at those macaques running around.
Yeah, can't beat the macaques, dude. Can't beat the macaque. We're almost on the break, though. We're almost out of time. We got one segment to go before we hand over to Brent Thomas, and he will take you through the Paranormal Portal.
Paranormal Portal.
And then after that show is on, it's Paisley Wild, and Nathan will be her special guest today on that. Now, don't forget, I'll be back on Sunday with Bill Bean and the gang over on Bill's YouTube channel for Warrior Mode. And if you're a member of the KBS2 YouTube, we will be live on Sunday. So all of that to look forward to in one segment of Freaky Friday left. We'll come back after the break and we will take it deep woo as we warm you up for Brent Thomas. And of course, Brent is here on TFR Live and he also simulcasts. More about that when we come back after the break. Don't go anywhere. There we go, boys. There we go. One segment to go already. Can you believe it?
Segment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gonna grab coffee. I'll be 2 secs, boys. 2 secs.
Okie dokie.
Just a cup of mushkiki, gloop, and coffee. How you doing, Scotty?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, Nasane? How is everybody else out there doing in the chat?
Chat room. Hello, everybody in the chat room.
Try to read some of what's going on here.
Any questions? Any questions for a simple... Oh, can I call myself a simpleton? Simple Simon met a pieman while going to the fair. Pi 3.145. We won't get into that, will we?
Catherine in the chat says conductivity might be a link to these massive megalithic stones in pyramid construction and the like. Yeah.
Crushed quartz.
Yeah,
crushed
we
crystals.
We talk about the
lost cement mixture, the secret of the Masons, the mystery cement where you could levitate bricks.
Well, the capstones of the pyramids were supposedly coated with a very special alloy, and Christopher Everard has talked about that in a lot of his work. And so I would think that alloy would have a superconducting component to it, right? Especially if we're talking about the pyramids and obelisks. That was the word I was looking for, obelisks. If the pyramids and obelisks were energy generating generators and or receivers, then you would need some kind of a superconductive material or something to handle all of that. So yes, I would say that would play a role in all of that.
Come and get me, coppas. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounds like you got a little bit of action going on around you there, Naysay.
Got a rough neighborhood, these Native Americans. No, I'm kidding. But you know what? If you think about like the whole Tesla stuff and you think of the attributes of copper and gold, especially true gold, not with any alloys in it, and then coated with silver, you know, how would you not be able to tap into a greater frequency electricity, New Zealand, from the atmosphere? How dare they? But, you know, it's coming to fruition. Why? Why is it coming to this pivotal time, space continuum gathering here? I'm excited. Wouldn't want to change a thing about it. Just to be right here with you. I love you too, Scotty.
Yes, I love you, Naysay. I love everybody. Oh,
and I love the chat room.
Yes,
and I love you, Universe, and you, Universe, and Kev Baker. That's Scottish.
I think
Scottish
Kev
accent did it.
Coffee pot. I think
like
coffee pot.
6-7 years ago, when Kev Baker used to call in that Scottish accent. I don't know if I blah 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 blah. I don't know if I ever told him, but on the 21st. It's my mother's birthday, and I'm looking to see if I can get a Scottish guy to play the bagpipes for her.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to bring the host back in since Kev isn't back, and we'll just, we'll take it from there. All right, everyone. We are back. Final segment of Freaky Friday. Right here on TFR Live, TalkStream Live. I am here with Naysay, and we are waiting for Kev to get back from getting his cup of coffee. And we were getting into these meteorites and this quote-unquote naturally occurring superconductive element that is contained within, particularly this meteorite in Australia. And this brought up a lot of interesting conversation about, you know, could this be some ancient technology of some kind? I think that the possibility is there for that, because if this is a supposedly naturally occurring compound, I guess you could say, a naturally occurring alloy of some sort, then why haven't we been able to reproduce it ourselves? Or why haven't we figured out how to produce it? So I don't know. Definitely interesting stuff when it comes to that. So yeah. And we were discussing during the break, you know, someone in the chat had brought up Egypt and, you know, this superconductivity and
so a little synchronicity with that, if I may jump in, Scotty.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Egypt, we talk about the Baghdad battery. Mm-hmm. So if you look at some of these Egypt temples, they had the ability to create aqueducts. And through the technology of aqueducts, they could make water go up tubes, you know, and then it would pump it up, and then they would run it downstream, the path of least resistance. And where they would divide this stream and bring it back together, if you have the conductivity materials, and then you have it come together just like the element in a light bulb that causes it to burn, that same catalyst between the two running streams of water, it will generate electricity, a field. So it doesn't seem, you know, and then just put a Baghdad battery right there in the center of it on a little ledge. And then you have the wires going off to the left and right. And then right in the middle, there's a filament. Whoopee doopie, light is created. Doesn't seem that difficult.
And this gets in. You were talking about the water, right? And I mean, water. The properties of water when it comes to a lot of this stuff is amazing, right? I mean, you can imprint your intent into water. We talked about the experiments. What was his name? Dr. Miyamoto, I think it was, or Miyamoto, where he put negative intentions and stuff into water and then froze it, and the ice crystals were extremely they weren't symmetrical and they looked really like weird and deformed. And then in the water where he put good intentions in, like said good stuff to the jar of water or whatever, and then he froze it, and the ice crystals were extremely symmetrical and beautiful and all of that. So just that in itself shows how amazing water is. And then water's a conductor of electricity as well. You have that added element to it.
I like the whole ideology about, if you think of that same principle of where you can imprint information or data or a field into something, what about these diamonds that have been around for millions, billions of years? If they have a memory to it, a genetic memory of the history of this planet, of this world, what if you had the ability to tap in to those diamonds?
That's very good. That's a very good observation there. And then that also makes you wonder, why are we so obsessed with diamonds? Right. I mean, I know that a lot of it is because we're kind of told to be obsessed with diamonds, but just through marketing and that whole Bernaysian consumerism aspect of it, to where we feel like we're obligated to buy our significant other a diamond or purchase them or whatnot. But there's this underlying thing where it's like we want to find shiny rocks. It's like in our DNA. It's weird. Like we have this urge to dig and gather shiny trinkets and objects. And
isn't it also like that greed or that desire for gold to get the shiny thing? Why do we have such an innate, almost like genetically bounded, in the whole gold of its value?
And I think a lot of that, I've heard a lot of speculation and kind of theories about, and I'm willing to entertain it. I think it's a possibility that when the Anunnaki came down and cross-spliced this worker species that they wanted, that's where that innate desire for gold comes from, because it's a genetic memory of like the workers, right? They were basically programmed to find gold and mine gold, and so that's like hardwired into us that we want to find gold and we want to find gems and rubies and things of significance like that, because maybe that's what the Anunnaki wanted us to do for them, right?
Yeah, I try to look at it from the whole Trinity: positive, neutral, negative. So what would be the whole positive of the gold thing? And then you look at the whole particulates of gold and characteristics and what it can be utilized for on the metaphysical level. So this ideology that we're taught about the Anunnaki, I can understand it. And then you get into the whole alchemy of it, of transmuting lead into gold. Metaphor is it the whole, individuals trying to find the enlightenment, trying to find their inner Jesus, their consciousness, you know, to raise them up higher. You know, what is the pathway to the light? You know, what are we taught to follow? I don't know.
Yeah, and then going back to your thing about the diamonds, right? You know, how long, you know, it takes to create a diamond and how old they actually are. And then we talk about quartz crystal, you know, storing energy and being able to store data and whatever. You know, what kind of properties does a diamond have, and what kind of information can it hold and whatnot? It is a very good. It's a very interesting thing to think about as well. And then think about it from this aspect, Naysay. Say you've had a diamond that has been passed down through your family, right? Like a ring. How much of that, you know, emotion and energy from the different people who have owned that diamond is then imprinted into that, right? So like, you know, like say you've inherited a diamond from your grandmother, and she inherited that diamond from her grandmother, right? It's went through these generations. You know, you think that the essence of those people are stored, you know, in that diamond, or a lot of the emotional, maybe energy or different things is imprinted into that. I like to think so.
It would, if we look at it in the aspect that even we in this physical realm, when we touch something, we leave residue, whether it be microscopic particulates of our skin, dander, or whatever, we leave residue. Even in the measurable electromagnetic energy spectrum field that we generate at, you know, it's detected, you know. So in that theory, you know, I'd say absolutely. You know, and imagine, you know, these huge diamonds that are found, and if there's a way that you could tap into the history that that diamond absorbed over its existence of millions of years, you think somebody would want to find that information useful?
And you know, Luna in the chat said that Russian rubies carry heavy emotions. Yeah, probably. You know, think about like
Das Vidanya Vodka will be doing.
think about like was it the czar's treasure or whatever that they go around and they let people see a lot of this the czar gold and all of that stuff. You've got to wonder what sort of energies those rubies and stuff hold, especially when you think about it in the context of the Russian Revolution and the czars being overthrown and the turmoil that it had occurred at that time. And a lot of that stuff was actually stolen, and all of the things that was connected to. I bet those diamonds and rubies and stuff hold all kinds of interesting imprints into them. So yeah, I would agree with Luna on that probably a lot of those Russian
and you get that solid silver mirror that has those rubies and diamonds and emeralds all around its edges, etched within the symbols around its edges, and mirror, mirror on the wall, magic mirror on the wall, Pink Floyd The Wall, we don't need no educate. Who knows, brother? The portal, though. The portal. If you can open up the portal, minimally, you could check out the paranormal portal. But can you imagine that being passed down? All of a sudden, at some point, some guy rings on the door and they give you a UPS package. You open it up and it's an old book from 300 years ago, passed down from one of your ancestors that you just happened to be at that particular moment to be. And you open it up and it has all this kind of alchemy to it. And Scott the Wizard.
Yeah.
Just for good, brother, please. Just for good. Be a wizard of good. Positivity.
Yes.
I want to stay naysay the gray.
Naysay the gray. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Neutral. I'd rather find balance than pick a side. Am I Switzerland? Well, you know, Harry Potter, would you be a no? He brought it back. That's called a callback in the comedy world.
Yes, it is indeed.
But to be given that ruby.
Baker, how are we doing, Mr. Baker?
Oh no! I tell you, I went to make a coffee and I don't know, took one of my little wobblies, Scott. So I'm getting there now. Getting there. Thank you, and Naysay for having it all covered. You know. Oof.
We got you, buddy. We got you, buddy. I figured you probably just needed to have a few minutes to recoup and whatnot. So we got you, bro. We were talking. We were getting into deep.
Lots of deep woo, was it?
Yeah, we started tying in the pyramids and the superconductivity and the alloy that could be located on top of the capstones, and
I like that idea. I like that.
Right, because we're talking about this ancient, this technology. What was that activity in the meteorite? Was it
Naysay, are you muted up or what's happening, man?
There we go.
There we are.
I can't confirm or deny that something might have choked me a little bit. So
I know that feeling, dude. I know that feeling. I was checking. I felt a disturbance in the force. That's what it was. Oof.
There we go.
Deep breaths.
Were you having well, we'll talk about it later. I just got a little freaked out, but sorry. Should we go to the woo?
We
10 minutes to go. Woo sounds good.
Did you have
any
connection
to synchronicities that we continue to have with this family? And thank you, Kev, to be a pivotal spoke. If it's all a circle, you would be the center point of the spoke of the, beyond TFR, part of the TFR family, and even more microcosm, the Kev Baker family. So we've had the opportunity to meet all these people and share all these thoughts and everything. And we're finding these synchronicities or just these familiarities to where we open up and share these experiences with each other. You and Down Under, our Australian friends, we're trying to find the answers. And so when this occurrence just happened, I'm trying to think of a way of saying it, where if you were doing your coughing, all of a sudden I got into it too, but it was an unfamiliar cough that I've had before. So
well, I wouldn't wish this cough on anyone, brother. That's for sure.
So every time I ever do like that, what I always reach is for my colloidal silver nasal spray to get some moisture down my esophagus, into my lungs. So that's what I do, though.
So you got planned for the weekend then, they say?
Well, tonight I got that show, And then this weekend I have some people I got to talk about the VA and some challenges I'm having with the VA. And then I got to get ready for Monday because all week next week I got some meetings to go through and go to. And then on the 21st, can I talk about that show? That's
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
on the 21st with Kev Baker on his normal show on tfrlive.com. We're going to talk about the artist formerly known as, because it would be his anniversary of his demise, his ending. He was not a tardigrade.
No tardigrade.
Or was he? And he just had to go back to his own home world.
Well, that's very true. Was he an alien? I think Michael Jackson was an alien. I don't know about him.
Maybe we could go into that too, because there's a lot of strangeness with Michael Jackson and Prince, how they were both fanatics about trying to release something before the other, because they all allegedly they both had a fear that they could tap into the ethos to get their songs.
Yeah, I've heard that before, man. Yeah.
Each
They had
one was
bands on
afraid.
call.
Yeah, each one was afraid that the other one was going to come up with the exact same tune or whatever, and they wanted to be the first to get it out there, which is very interesting. That just it's almost like the same thing of where you have two inventors that are completely independent of each other with no, and then they invent the exact same thing. That right there tells me that there is some information that is just that is out there. Like all information can be pulled from somewhere, because how can you have two people just like come up with the exact same thing? Right. Yeah, okay. Coincidence, I guess. But come up with the exact same invention with the exact design.
You don't even know that they're working on it. You think you're the only person in the world working on it, and then you find out somebody halfway around the world is working on exactly the same thing,
Or is it because that at that particular time there was a specific problem that needed to be solved? So when people started thinking about solving that specific problem, then the natural sort of conclusion was to invent something that would solve that problem, in that way. But I still don't know. I don't think that. I think these people are receiving this information as a download from the universe somewhere.
I'm with you. I can't put it into words either. I'm with you though. I think we're thinking along the same lines, dude. Definitely. So, say any final thoughts before we sign off and give it over to Brenton, the Paranormal Portal.
The sun is the same in a relative way when it creates its flare-ups, and the electromagnetic forces are hurtled throughout our solar system. And when they hit us, if they manipulate us, may it be in a positive manner for the betterment of all of universe. So if this transformation is occurring because of manipulation of the electromagnetic atmosphere, inner sphere, outer sphere of universe, take the ride, keep all appendages inside the cart while it is in motion, because it's going to be beautiful and miraculousness. Oh, it's that mush kiki gloop. Have some gloop every now and then. This message is not brought to you by Mush Kiki.
I would say have less gloop now and then. Yeah. What are you up to the weekend then, Scott? What have you got planned, man?
I plan on doing a lot of hardcore gaming with my brother this weekend.
Nice.
The big updates to Call of Duty have come in, so there's new stuff to try and unlock, new levels to reach.
Mm.
You know how it is, and once a gamer, always a gamer. So I'll be in my 80s, probably gaming on some whatever futuristic technological system is out at the time. And I'll be in there. I'll be in the zone, man. Be in the zone.
Yeah, sounds good. And I hope you've all got a nice weekend planned out there. Remember, Brent's coming up right after this. And then, Nacy, let people know what show you're going to be on, man.
Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to create a little ego boost. But tonight I will be with the my favorite kitchen witch, a born-again pagan, as she's self-proclaimed, Paisley Wild, between the spaces, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Juice Frequency Network.
You just can't get enough of it, Nacy, eh?
Yeah, I can't wait till we get the opportunity to do the longer version with Paranormal Portal, though. That's going to be fun.
Friday the 13th, I think it's August or something. That's coming up, right? It rings a bell.
Yeah, it's toward somewhere in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, towards the end of the year.
Oh,
But
that'll be
it'll
here
be-
soon enough. Soon enough, it'll be here.
Hell, we're already in April.
I know.
Isn't that crazy?
Couldn't we come up with another parameter, like if it happened on a full moon or a new moon? Just a thought.
No, there's only so often I can stay up from midnight till 5 in the morning, Nacy. Come on now. Once or twice a year is about my limit for that one now. And on that note, there is the paranormal portal. We're out of here, folks.
Toodles.
Sorry about that, guys. Oh, that was a dodgy one. Oof.
Nah, it's fine. I figured when I was looking at and I was like, okay, he's not. I was like, he's probably having a little bit of an issue.
Too quickly to go and do something. It just I forget that I can't move quickly. You see what I'm saying? It'll just
yeah.
Not good.
So
But nobody needs to hear about that. But thank you guys for having my back. Top notch.
Problem, man. No problem.
Top notch. So
Gotcha.
listen, folks. Thank you all for tuning in today. Hope you had fun. That was really, really good stuff. Water bears. Nacy. I didn't know where we would go with the water bears, but it kicked off a really good Freaky Friday. So
it got interesting. Yeah,
it did, didn't it? It got really good.
Genetic splicing, chimeras, all that good stuff.
We're gonna have to keep our eye on that now that they're publicly splicing man and monkey. What could possibly go wrong, right? I've seen Planet of the Apes. I know how this finishes. It's a good movie. Didn't think it would be real, you know? Well, I suppose when you see Nicola Sturgeon, you can prove that it's definitely real. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Freaky Friday with the Woe Crew. And Dave, maybe on the Wawa.
I'm all wah-wah'd out today, man.
Scotty Lopez on the Wawa. Like, share, and subscribe.